Okay, welcome. I'm Elizabeth Elliott with Fusion Stretch and Wellness in Louisville, Kentucky, and I want to welcome you to the Thrive with Lyme online summit. This morning today we have Mimi Maclean of Lyme 360. She has a podcast called Lyme 360, and then she also has started a website to give back to the Lyme community called lyme360.com. And this stems from her own personal journey with Lyme disease. So, Mimi, can you share a little bit with us about your personal journey with Lyme disease?
Sure. Yes. Thank you so much for having me on today.
Thank you.
I was bit by a tick about 7.5 years ago, soon after I call it like the perfect storm. Soon after I had my fifth child, and my father had just died, and it was just a culmination of a lot of stuff. We had mold in our house and other issues going on. And so I think that is kind of what that being bit by that tick kind of triggered it. I knew what Lyme was. So I knew really early on, like I didn't take the antibiotics like I should have. That was like my biggest regret, I think, in my life. Because I assumed like it was only on for a very short amount of time. And I was like, oh, it wasn't on for 24 hours. I shouldn't take it. And I didn't. So, but fast forward like 3 months is like when all the symptoms started. And I immediately went into like full court press with Lyme because my children had Lyme, my husband had Lyme. So I knew early on that that's what it was. But I think because of my past like health experience, I had an accident when I was really little and I was on antibiotics for a long, long time. And I just, since then, I think my immune system has just been struggling. It's just taken me a long time to kind of overcome it. So for the past 7.5 years, I've been like a yo-yo. Like sometimes I'm really good, sometimes I'm not, depending on what, when you catch me. Right now, I'm in the not so good phase. I'm starting to come out of it, but I had COVID this summer, which I just found out my house has black mold. So I just literally, it's kind of been triggering everything again. But I have tried everything from IV port, like with antibiotics, 6 different kind of antibiotics every day, to completely going to see shamans and talking to translators, like you name it, everything. I haven't done stem cells yet. That's one of the things I think I have not done, but for the most part, I have done a lot of stuff I'm willing to try anything is my point. I'm open and kind of on a journey. So that's kind of, that's why I decided to start Lyme 360 about 2.5 years ago. Because
Mhm.
at first I was like, I don't want anything to do with Lyme. Once I'm done, I'm done. I don't want to like associate it with myself. But I realized like this is going to be an ongoing journey. And so I was like, I might as well talk to people as I'm learning and sharing that information as I'm learning with other people, because I realized it's not a one size fits all disease. What helps me might not help you or your daughter, or might not help, the next person. And it's so different, and the symptoms are different, and there's not one cure. And I'm not sure if it ever really goes away if you just keep it at bay, like
Mhm.
shingles or Epstein-Barr virus. So it's kind of learning all as I go.
Right. Now, when I was reading your biography, it said you did not have the bullseye rash, correct?
I did not.
Right.
I
So you,
found the tick on me, and
Mhm.
it's only been on me for like 2 hours. Just because the timeline I know, like when I got off the plane, I went to my dad's funeral and it was
Mhm.
on me. So unless, it came from California on a plane. So it was
Right.
on so short that I was like, oh, but it was attached. So that's my thing. If you think about it, common sense, like once it attaches, it's in your bloodstream. Why does it matter if it's 24 hours or if it's like,
Right.
if you think about it, it's like a cut,
Right.
like getting sepsis or getting MRSA. It's like you have a cut, it's open. It doesn't matter if MRSA hits you for 24 hours a day. I mean, I'm not a doctor, but common sense, like,
Right. Right. If something's bitten you, something could be transmitted.
yeah, exactly.
They are quick to, on a basketball court, wipe up the blood or anything else, right away,
Yeah.
for fear of, right,
Yeah. So why does it
contaminating the
take
other
24
players.
hours? Well, now that you think about it, right? It's in the family of syphilis. Like, I don't know
Mhm.
if you knew that.
I did not know that.
It's a cousin of syphilis. So, it doesn't matter. Like syphilis, you don't get sexually more than 20. You know what I mean? It doesn't take 24 hours to get
Right.
syphilis. Like it just takes
Right.
one time. So like
Hmm.
what's the difference? you
Right.
know?
Right. So now when you say like right now you're in sort of a not so great phase with this do you think the black mold, some of these other stressors? I mean, and what does that look like when you not your energy levels are
Yes.
lower?
I like sleep. I could now I'm coming out of it, but like a month ago, I was sleeping like 16 hours a day. I would get up, take my kids to school, come back and sleep till noon. Um,
Mhm.
my rate now, like right this second, is my joint pain is unreal.
Okay.
And I can't move my thumb and my arm.
Okay.
um, which is like, oh, whatever. But I already can't move my left arm because of my accident when I was little. So I'm like now, like literally can't open anything, open doors. Like it's just, I can't even brush my hair. Like my kids have to brush my hair because I can't get my hand to my head to
Okay.
brush.
Mhm.
So it's my joints that are locking up and all swollen and painful.
Now, and I also read, right, that you are eating a gluten-free and sugar-free diet, right? No alcohol.
Yes.
And
Yes, I go back and forth. Like that's like this, like what was it? Last year, I'd say before I got COVID, I was like back to like, I could cheat once in a while with alcohol. I can't cheat, like I can't have wine, but like I could have hard alcohol. Like I knew which ones I can get away
Mhm.
with. And I could, once in a while have gluten. And then I realized like now when I'm not well, I got to like tighten it all back up again. So there's a little wiggle room, but then at the same time, maybe that's why I got sick again because I had wiggle room. So yeah, there is a little thing, like there's not like it's I probably should be cleaner than I am, but it's so hard.
Yeah, yeah,
Just
yeah.
eating.
Yeah,
But yeah,
I
I
remember
do see a direct
watching
impact.
The Monster and Me, that right, that
Mhm.
one woman who oh, you know what? No, it wasn't that one. It was a documentary on multiple sclerosis, and
Oh,
he was talking about it was, oh, it came out of Canada, actually, and, well, The Monster and Me also, that doctor was highlighted about, the connections potentially with multiple sclerosis, Lou Gehrig's, right, autism and Lyme. Did you watch the movie, right?
yes.
Yeah.
But so my Lyme doctor, the one who I went to with BTT, I was telling you about,
Mhm.
he really treats ALS. That's his specialty, and he has found that he has tested every single one of his ALS patients, and all of them had Lyme.
Wow, and so I'm assuming, that he was not using the Western blot test.
Yeah, probably not. I think he uses IGeneX is the one that
Yeah,
I
like,
actually.
the guy I'm dating, that's why we were watching multiple the MS documentary that came out, oh gosh, what was the name of it? Living Proof. It's
Mhm.
excellent. It doesn't talk about that, but one of the ladies in there, and I was getting the 2 movies confused, talks about how, gosh, if I could go back, she was older, I would have been cleaner. Like, that was with her diet.
Yeah.
She realized and recognized because he's a big his father was some sort of scientist when this young man was diagnosed at 19, and he's in his early 40s without any, symptoms of multiple sclerosis, but he's followed this I intense and very rigid gluten-free and dairy-free diet. Those were the 2 big culprits that his father, who's some I forget what his father was, but they really dove into it. There's a website, MS Hope, but I digress. But I was, I just think like the guy I've been dating with his multiple sclerosis, I've wondered Lyme. He had the Lyme test, just the Western blot. I'm just like, I don't know.
Mm.
I'm not convinced that you might not
Yeah.
have it, and
Usually they say a lot of it's something like viral there's a reason why it's been exploding, right? I mean,
yeah. And of course,
I
this
didn't know anybody.
Epstein-Barr, right? The Epstein-Barr is oftentimes found too,
Mhm.
right, in connection.
Trigger like the Lyme, and that's why I called it like the perfect storm because it's not like we're all exposed to cancer every day. Like all of us have cancer cells in our body. All of us have probably get exposed to Lyme, but because like you and I can get exposed the same time and you get it and I don't, or vice versa, it's usually because of like what we're eating. If we're run down, if you're like have an acidic environment in your intestine, like leaky
Yeah,
gut or
right.
stress, or there's the list goes on and on. So it's like the perfect storm of what's causing your body to turn on and turn against it. It's an autoimmune at this point. I mean, look at my joints, right? Like this is autoimmune. Like I don't know if the Lyme is causing it or the Lyme caused the autoimmune, but or whatever. It's all wrapped up.
Right. So your family has Lyme disease too, or they have had Lyme?
Some of them have, yeah. Most of my yes. I mean, we live in an area that's very Lyme centric. I also do think it's pretty prevalent to pass. If you ask my opinion, it's probably pretty prevalent to pass from family member to
Hmm.
family member. Like I don't know if it's saliva or anything that has never been proven, but like they say, like if a dog has it, you have to be careful, like because your dogs can have it. I know our dogs had it.
Right.
Um, I know it's passed in vitro. I know it's passed,
Absolutely.
sexually.
Right. See, those
So
were
who
new to me
knows?
this year. I just learned that this year.
Oh, really? I mean, it's a virus, right? So it's
Right.
like mono, like it's like the same idea. Like it's where is it coming from? It's something, The other thing I would say I have learned that's pretty pivotal for anybody who's listening is you are not going to get better if you have mold in your body in your home. So
Hmm.
that's one thing. If you have not addressed that component of this,
Hmm.
is super important. And then the other one is parasites and
Parasites.
making sure you don't have parasite because you will not those two things love to hold on to the Lyme, or those two things are causing symptoms that almost are mimicking the Lyme.
Yeah. Hmm.
So it's like they all kind of go hand in hand.
So, is there a parasite diagnostic test, or would that be just
Yeah,
your
you just go to your
you know,
doctor and
like a
yeah,
stool
I
test?
think you just go to your regular doctor and ask for a parasite test. I
That's
think that's how
okay.
I did it. Mine was a Lyme doctor, but I'm sure a regular
Hmm. Was
doctor
that
has.
was that a stool test? Did you have to?
That's a more extensive. No, mine's always been blood, but you can like go and do a stool for like the next step. Or what I would say to somebody is like, if you don't want to spend that money and get tested at this point, like just we should all be doing it once or twice a year, just getting like one of those herbal parasite
Like
cleanses,
lenses, yeah.
right? And just do them every, and see if you feel better, like or not. Like I don't know. Like I just feel like we all should be cleansed just because it's like we're in this environment with like around people and food and washing, like going to
Hmm.
dinners and it's pretty prevalent. Like parasites are really, I think, more prevalent than people think.
Hmm. Well, what about have you had any experience in this? Yeah, it's a tick, the alpha gal. Anybody like with your the
What's it called?
alpha gal, that meat allergy that
Oh,
people
I don't
are
know anything
getting
about
from?
that.
Okay, because I have three people.
Oh, really? That's something else. This
Yeah,
is called something else though. It's called
that's
West
the only that's the only name for it I
the one
have.
down south. It's the
But
I
I
forgot
just
the name.
wonder if
That
they
one is
connect
a
at
different name.
all. If
I don't
there's
know anything
people
about
with
it.
Lyme, with alpha gal, and I'm just, again, that's one of those they, that can be affiliated with tick bites, and so I wonder
Yeah.
how many people with
The
Lyme.
problem is, I think right now it's like it's not just from deer. Like I found out rabbits have more ticks than deer do. So if you have a rabbit in your backyard, chances are it's got a tick. They're on mice.
Oh
They're on
yeah,
everything. I mean, it doesn't matter if you live on the East Coast.
right.
Um, I just think it's on your animals have them, like your domestic animals at this point probably have them. So it's more prevalent than you think.
Oh yeah, I mean, literally, since I
Mhm.
started this, came home and found this tick that had clearly been on our dog's tail. We touch
Yeah.
this dog all the time,
Yeah. That's why I say don't let your dog sleep in your bed with you. Like do
and I
not like leave
and
them downstairs.
And I think that's exactly what happened with our daughter. The dog brought it in, was
Hmm.
sleeping with her. It got on her because we're pretty good about checking for ticks anyway. And I mean that's all we can think is that, and so then the dog was not sleeping with her anymore, right?
Yeah.
So what kinds of things, I know that it looks like you've done some antibiotics, right? But then you've used some holistic treatments as well. I see the colonics.
Yes. Holistic, definitely an herbal protocol. Like
Hmm.
either, going to Bill Rawls, Dr. Rawls protocol is a great one.
Hmm.
Dan Ingalls has also started one. Or if you've gone to a Lyme litter doctor, they typically have their own like herbal protocol.
Hmm.
Um, so herbal protocol, I think, is really important. Figuring out why your mitochondria is not working is another one because you got to get that working. And it's something, that it could be breast implants. It could be with something that's causing your mitochondria not to work. And that's kind of getting to the root of that problem. But for me, I would say herbal protocol, in a pinch, like definitely saunas have helped me out huge. Love saunas. Even I started doing cold baths and cold plunges.
Hmm.
That's helped. But yeah, like going to either colonics or coffee enemas, like,
Okay.
like in my deepest, darkest days where I'm like in bed and I'm like, oh my God, I got to get out of bed for a kids, teacher conference. Like, I'm like, I got to drag myself out. I would give myself like a coffee enema because that would always give me, like a burst of energy and like feel, like it cleans you out, like liver, it
Okay.
detoxes your liver really well. So I know it's really gross and you're like, I can't believe I'm sticking this up there. Like, but if you can get beyond that, like it is definitely worth um worth it. The other thing I would say is if you can get yourself on any kind of ozone machine, I wound up buying one at home, but you could also do it like at a doctor's office if you can find one and do like,
Mhm.
like an ozone IV, or like if you could do the ozone, like in your ears, or you can do nasal, like that kills all of the mold, that gets like just oxygen in your body. That has helped me a lot too.
Okay.
And then any kind of like PEMF, like if it's that wave one thing that I talk about, there's a podcast I have that on my
Okay.
line, the links on my website. That's great. Like any kind of like PEMF or electromagnetic that has the frequency of Lyme that can kill the Lyme, like so that you can wear, it's like a wearable device, or
Mhm.
there's PEMF machines that you can sit on and do that. That I found has helped me as well. And then just managing the pain, like with either CBD or something like that, that you can kind of just either rub it on your joints or take CBD oil or something like that, or a CBD kind of gummy thing. You can do it with or without THC, depending on, I
Where you
guess your
are.
the CB, yeah, and the CBD you can get the same kind of, um, if you don't want to have the THC, you can get the same kind of like, I think, pain reduction without taking the THC.
Right. So now when you talked about the cold plunge, I know it's popular all over the internet. Do you alternate the sauna with the cold plunge, like back to back, going
I
back and
haven't,
forth?
just because they're not close to each other.
Uh-huh.
But I mean, that's ideal from what I hear. I mean, I
Mhm.
haven't done that, but people do that.
Now, when you say sauna, is it the infrared sauna?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
All
Yeah.
three wavelengths.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
And what about red light therapy? I've read so much about red light therapy for the mitochondrial function.
I know. So I started doing that. I don't have one of those machines, but there's a place in Connecticut that I go to that has a red light therapy. So I've been doing that like every day for the past like month, just to get ahead of it. So yes, I do that as well.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then like how often would you say you're doing these colonics?
Depend how bad, like I haven't found a place in Connecticut that does them now that I moved here. When I lived in LA, I was going once a month.
Mm.
I just got back from We Care Spa. So anybody who is looking for like a detox place, I would highly recommend that. They give you colonics every day,
Okay.
body treatments that are all about detoxing. The whole place is all about detoxing. Like if I had all the time in the world and the money and no kids, I would just park myself there for 2 weeks, because you come out feeling amazing, because it's all about intermittent fasting and like not eating and giving you like green drinks and like all detoxing. It really is the best like detox place. And every time I do go there, I feel so much better when I leave. I just don't have the capacity to do it for more than like 5 days. But
Yeah.
if I did, I would be there.
Yeah. What about exercise, with your energy levels being low? I mean, what, you may not even be exercising or doing any sort of movement on your not so good days. Uh, but what on, and maybe you are, I'd be curious to, it could be light movement or yoga,
So
just
I
a little
no,
stretch,
the
then on
yeah.
other days, right? Because I know that, exercise in and of itself creates the oxidative stress in the body, right? And it also suppresses the immune system for a bit, right afterwards. And so you have to really honor the body, right? So that
Yeah.
it stays in that healing state.
So that's funny you mentioned that, because every time I feel better, I'm always like, okay, I'm going to focus on losing my pounds and getting in shape and getting back to where I was prior to Lyme.
Mhm.
And then that's when I go into like an intense like workout not intense. I'm talking like getting off the couch and finally doing something. So that's my intense. So
Right.
you walk and try to get like 10,000 steps in a day.
Uh-huh.
But finally, like, okay, I'm going to like get myself geared up. And like, I like started working with a personal trainer, or I'd go to Soul Cycle, or I take a yoga class or a Pilates class. I'm in bed. Boom. I cannot. That's the one thing I have. And that's what I was feeling better. And I got myself on this routine where I tried to start playing tennis again. That's when I'm kind of paying the piper for that from September, like still like just from working out twice a week and playing tennis once a week.
Too
So
much.
it's too much. I don't know if like, it's almost like my body is like reacting to like whatever chemicals are being released during working out or something. It's just,
Uh-huh.
can't do it. And then I think because of neurologically, like it throws me off bending over and doing like yoga or Pilates because of like the Lyme affected me neurologically. So
Right.
I get completely out of whack and like dizzy. And so I'm my days of like hardcore working out are over.
Right. 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 Right.
So
So
I'm sticking to walking.
you're sticking to walking. So
Yeah.
for I mean, I love walking. I think walking's great. Do you have fears of going out in the woods these days?
Oh, I won't go in the woods. I just walk on the roads.
Okay, so you won't go back out in the woods. Do you find yourself like leery of spending time outside or camping or
No, I
doing that
don't
type of
mind.
stuff?
I won't camp, but no, I don't mind going into my grass and stuff like that. Now I have it treated for Lyme pretty regularly, like for ticks.
Hmm.
Go into the woods. Hmm. Yeah, I guess I would, but I would be super cautious about it. Like really spray myself, put
Yeah.
long pants on, like really cautious about it.
And then what type of product do you like to use for that? If when you say spray yourself.
I'll spray myself. I have like some organic, like I don't know what oil it is that I'll put on. I don't. I'll be in everything else in my house. I use organic. Blah 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 blah. I don't when it comes to spraying my yard. At this point, I'm like napalm it. Like I don't care. Like I want those critters gone. So
Yeah.
that's the one thing that I'm like, forget the organic stuff. Like that
Yeah.
10, they're like, oh, you use the organic stuff, we'll get 90%. If you use the other stuff, we'll get 99%. I'm like, you know what? Like for that 9%, I don't care. Just use the stuff that's going to work. But otherwise, like spraying stuff that I put on my dog or my kids or myself, it's the actually on us. I use like that organic oil when you get it like Whole Foods or something like that.
Gotcha. Okay. And
Yeah.
then something else, you said something about hyperthermia treatment. Can you
Yeah.
talk
So
about what that is? And
yeah, sure. So I did a treatment. It was in Florida. Most of the people I think who do hyperthermia go to a place in Switzerland or Germany or somewhere in Europe.
Mhm.
I chose not to do that because I looked into it. I mean, I've heard some good things. I heard some not good things. I'm mixed about it. But I do know people have gotten better from it. The path I chose to go was okay. So the one I heard for the one I heard about the one in Europe is they put you under. You're not awake for it, and there's no way that they can monitor your brain temperature. So there's definitely like some like if your brain goes over 104 or 105, whatever, you risk like having seizures or having brain damage. And so that kind of scared me a little bit.
Mhm.
And then also just for the fact that I think you have to be there like a month or something like that. Like you have to be there for a long time. And I'm like, I don't have a month to get away. But I found another place down in Florida where it's hyperthermia. It's 2 hours. You're there just for like 4 hours, but you get to go the day before, the day after. You have to do like prep work here and there, but you're staying off site. He does not put you to sleep, and he's invented a technology that he has patented that it actually can tell you your brain temperature. He just attaches this like thing on your nose, and he can tell what your brain temperature is at all times. So there's no risk of having your brain go over the temperature that you're supposed to. And then also by not putting you under, he was saying that like the benefit of being put under is reduced when the benefit of hyperthermia is reduced when you're put under because your brain is asleep. It's not like actually interacting to what's happening
Okay. Yeah.
to the procedure because you're kind of asleep, so by being awake, it's able to interact with him, what he's trying to do. So his is kind of a hyperthermia slash like modern day brain surgery of how I pronounce, like, because the thing that he's putting on your head is actually talking to your brain and getting it to re-release heat shock proteins. So, and that's what a lot of us are missing when we get attacked by Lyme or ALS or whatever. It's like your heat shock proteins go away. And once your heat shock proteins go away, that's when you lose a lot, all these, neurodegenerative, diseases happen. So you're re-releasing heat shock proteins, and that's what he's doing during that procedure. So he needs you to be awake so that your body can respond and do that. I liked it. I've done it 3 times. It's very hard. I would say it's equivalent to running a marathon or having a baby. It's like as you're going through it, it's awful because you're awake at 106 degrees. So it's bad, but it's 2 hours. And then it's over and you're completely better. Like it's like night and day. Like I couldn't walk before, I walked after. I couldn't walk in a straight line, I should say. And I couldn't like stand on one foot, and then walked out 2 hours later, back to normal walking. And a lot of my symptoms went away. I would say though, because Lyme is like one of these has a long life cycle, after 6 months, like if you're not kind of staying on it, like the Lyme comes back, like the symptoms. So that's why I've done it a couple of times.
Okay.
I would do it more again. Like I've been tempted to go back down again. It's just really expensive. So
And
it's like one of
where is this in Florida?
it's in Aventura. It's
Okay.
called BTT Technologies.
BTT Technologies.
Yeah. It's great. It's super expensive. So it's just one of those like,
Right. And
you have to be in a really bad, like, it's one of those like, you have to be like, money's no object, you don't care, or so bad that you're like, okay, I'll pay anything, because it's like the difference of like having a quality of life or not. And that's where I was when I originally went. Like it was to the point where like I couldn't even drive or walk, like I was having a hard time even walking. So yeah, but I would recommend that. But I think the one in Europe is probably less money, I would assume, but it's a longer and bigger. That's a bigger, like, I think they do a lot of stuff. Like there's other stuff besides just the hyperthermia there
okay.
that they do. It's like a whole program they do. I don't know because I haven't been there, but from what I gather,
Yeah.
they
So
do
then,
like,
you are integrating both a holistic approach right now, and are you still doing some antibiotics or no?
no. If it's what I would tell people at this point,
Mhm.
this is my take on it. Cause first of all, I'm never going to be critical because everyone's at a different spot.
Yeah.
So it's like, I'm not judging because everyone has to do, and I'm somebody who doesn't even take Tylenol. So for me to be like, oh, I'm going to put a port in and take 6, I was in a really dire situation at that point to admit to do that. And I was willing to do anything. And I think it was $1,500 a week in just antibiotics that was out of pocket. Like that's how much that was costing me. But I would say this for anybody from lessons learned. I would totally tell anybody that got bit by a tick right now, take the antibiotics. Like it is not, get the 2 or 3 weeks, whatever a doctor will give you. Do that. Do not think twice about it. 2, I would tell you if you were dire situation, meaning like you can't walk and your life is like that what girl in the movies, go
Right.
antibiotics, because that's going to like get you better quicker. I think herbs can work the same amount. It's just going to take longer. Right.
Right.
So depending on like what your time level is and how much you can bear, but there are downsides to the antibiotics, right? It
Yeah.
destroys your gut. And then by destroying your gut, there's so many other things that come out of that.
Right.
So like it's the gut thing. And then also like the whole, like, which this happened to me. So a lot of people have to think about this is if you do get a port in, I got sepsis. I almost died. I was in the emergency room. I was in the hospital for, a week, and they're like, you're lucky you're alive. So like, that is a whole other component of like, would I put another port in? No, probably not. Cause I'm not that anal enough to make sure I'm like keeping it super clean. And I was traveling and on an airplane and the thing fell off. And I think that's where I got infected. Like, it just was like, it was a lot of work. And when you don't feel well and you got 5 kids and adding that component and it's on you for 9 months or whatever, like that's a big deal. So look, I'm not being critical. Would I do it again? I probably in hindsight wouldn't have done the port again if I were to do it again. Because yeah, definitely not. Because I think I could get to where you're getting to without that, unless you're like in a dire situation and you need a quick fix to get ahead of it. But you got to then stay on your gut situation,
Right. Right. Yeah,
right?
that's tricky. Um, I know, when my mom had breast cancer, all that chemotherapy,
It's just,
just
yeah,
destroyed everything, and this the
right.
rebuilding of all of that, really has taken years, right? And then there's long-term side effects with that. You know,
Mm-hmm.
and I try to treat and prevent and do as much as I can, right, holistically. But
Mm-hmm.
I know that it's not
Yeah.
always possible,
Yeah.
right? And so, for me, the most important thing is that individuals have an opportunity to gather the information they need so that they can make an informed decision, whatever that is for them, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because,
Yeah.
but oftentimes we don't have all the information. We get one
Yeah. And
area
that's where
of expertise, and then we don't have any other, we're making a decision based on just this.
right. And I think that's where it comes down to is why is my body not able to fight this on its own?
Hmm.
Right. And that's where, as an individual, everyone needs to be like, why am I getting sick? There is a reason why your body can't fight this. And that should be like, okay, what do I, instead of being like, I need to kill Lyme, you should be telling yourself, what do I need to do to get my body whole and complete so I can take control of this myself?
Hmm.
And that's where you need to like make a list and be like, okay, am I drinking enough water?
Hmm.
Me, no, I'm not. Am I pooping every day? No, me, I'm not. You know what I mean? Go through the list. How am I detoxing every day? What's my food like?
Hmm.
What's my stress like?
Hmm.
Am I having clean stuff around my house? Like going through that whole checklist of like, where am I missing in this whole complete pie of life? And that's where you're like, okay, like, do I have bad relationships? I need to get them away. Like, I need to be at a point where like everything is whole, because you're not going to get better even with those antibiotics until all of those things are addressed.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. I know we're running out of time. We're right there at that 30-minute mark. I always think about it. I've kind of coined the Fusion Five. You've got to find balance in physical, nutritional, emotional, spiritual, and
Mhm.
environmental. You have to have, all five of these have to be in balance. We've got a lot of people focusing on just, getting the physical activity, but then running through McDonald's.
Yep.
They don't go, right, for
Right.
optimal health. And, I think of it as like a mobile above a baby's bed. If one of these pieces falls off, right, the whole thing tilts and
Yep.
it's not working and it will not spin and the baby will be seeing all this wonkiness, And so you have to balance all five in order to
And,
find that
and I
optimal.
think just to finish it off, I think when being sick, we do is you just want to go to a doctor to do the quick fix. Like, give me a pill to get me better. Like, that's kind of what at least my mindset was like, who's going to do, like, I need to just check this box and get it over. Like, what's the solution? What's like, like breast cancer, you're supposed to go do this, like, so what's my solution? And I think until like you as whoever is listening to this who has Lyme or some, you have to change your thinking so that you're saying to yourself, like, I have to heal myself. No
Hmm.
doctor is going to heal me. I have to do the work. I
Right.
need to do all of it, like everything, like clean home, clean mind, clean everything.
Yeah.
And only at that point, when everything is clean and you have everything figured out, would I then go and be like, okay, now I'm going to go do the antibiotics. Now I'm going to, because until all of that's done, if you're not drinking enough water or you're not taking your vitamins or whatever, you're not going to get better.
Right. Yeah. Um,
It's a lot of work, but you just got to do it, unfortunately. And no one's going to help you. You got to do it yourself.
it is a lot of work. And I know that, in America, at least it seems as though that pill, right, the quick fix seems to be what so many people want, right, along with instant gratification and everything else. And it does take work.
Right.
Uh,
And there's a reason why
and
someone's getting sick, right? Like they
yeah,
like you got to look to like the divine, whoever your divine is. They're
right.
trying to tell you something.
Yeah.
Something's not working in your life and
Hmm.
you need to fix it. And this is your wake up call. And if you don't do it, it's going to get worse and worse and worse. So you just got to just do it and figure out what needs to change. And you're on a mission. It's going to take you to somewhere better when you're done,
Right.
but you got to follow it through.
Yeah, I agree 100%. So just real quick to wrap up, just let us know, where they can find your podcast and your website and all the information that you have to share. Anything else you want to share with our
So we're
audience?
at lyme360.com. You can find my podcast pretty much at any, Spotify, Apple, whatever. And then also on Instagram, we're at lyme360 as well.
Okay. All right. And I know you had a
Hi.
recent one regarding electromagnetic field in Lyme. I want to
Yeah.
go and listen to that. I know some people think it's all woo woo. These EMFs aren't
Oh,
affecting
it's
us, but
so bad. I mean, I have a guy coming tomorrow, actually. There's a website you can find, like a local guy who's going to come to my house here and test it. And it's amazing because they can really show you, like, with the machine, like before and after. He's like, look, just by you plugging your phone in next to your bud, you're getting like enough to give you brain cancer. Like, he can literally show, it's mind blowing. So it's like, if you can, I would have like an EMF person come to your house, because it could just be even wires. Like, you
right.
don't even, it's like the backyard, there's wires, or like my electrician had wired my washer and dryer, like reversed wired it, and it was giving off, and my daughter's bedroom was right upstairs. And
Uh-huh.
so he was able to be like, look, all we have to do is switch the wiring. And then that cleans that up, like that dirty, like electricity. So
Yeah.
it's just amazing, that water. And then also like getting a mold guy to come through your house, or there's a mold like company you can send away for, and they just wipe it and then send it back. And it tells you from your dust if they think you have mold or not in your house. Like,
Oh,
that's where,
wow. Do you
that's on
know,
my,
do you know the company?
it's my website. When I can't remember the name of it. It's the mold guy, I think, was the one who did it. With the podcast. And
Okay.
so,
Uh,
yeah.
well, thank you so much for joining me this afternoon.
Well,
You have a great afternoon, and please be sure to check out Mimi Maclean's website at lyme360.com and also her podcast.
thank you.
You are so welcome. Thanks for joining me.